I'm Maryann Sasaki. You're watching Life in the Law. Wednesdays, 1 to 2, never miss us. I'm delighted today to have Myles Breiner on, eminent lawyer. We worked on a matter together. I got to know him a little bit. I'd heard all the stories, so I want to know are all the stories true.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
and far worse.
And I'm so happy to have you today because as you know, I told you I'm a newbie to law in Hawaii. So the legal community is fascinating to me because it's very different than New York.
We're a very closely knit community.
It's very nice.
One degree of separation.
Very nice here.
Everyone knows everyone else.
That's right. That's right. So you better be polite.
Early on, you learn when you practice law in Hawaii that pretty much everyone that you meet in the course of a day, you're going to meet again and again and again. It isn't like working in Los Angeles, or I previously worked in San Francisco, or yourself in New York, where you could go easily a couple of years and not see opposing counsel again.
So is it a challenge then to zealously advocate for your client? I mean,
it's a challenge in and of itself. Just zealously advocating for your clients. It makes it especially difficult when you want to be friends and work in the community. I noticed that a lot of attorneys hesitate to take on certain cases or to be aggressive with the case for fear that the next case they have to worry about opposing counsel.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
I don't practice that way.
I don't. Yeah, I couldn't if I had to.
Well, unfortunately, hence I've trampled on a few feet over time.
Yeah, I'm not that smart. I think to plan ahead. I don't have a big picture plan.
Well, the legal community is very small, relatively speaking, and most everyone knows everyone else. If they didn't grow up with them, they certainly went to college with them. Good chance they went to UH, or they went to Richardson School of Law.
Right.
So you have people that have this connection, a lifelong connection, as we say, from keiki when they were children,
right,
all the way through
graduate
school.
But we didn't. You didn't, right?
Well, it's interesting. I've been in Hawaii now since 1984.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And when I first moved to Hawaii, when someone would say to me, "Where do you go to school?" my first thought was, well, see, I went to graduate school at the University of Michigan. I went to law school in San Francisco. And no, the point being, where'd you go to high school?
Right, Punahou. If you go to Punahou, it's like the Harvard of...
And it is a great school, and there are lots of good schools here in Hawaii.
Yeah.
I'm a product of public schools. I was born and raised in Detroit, Michigan. My father was on the faculty at 2 different medical schools, at Wayne State Medical School and at University of Michigan. We kind of bounced between the two. But I grew up in the city, and a lifelong resident of Michigan. I left after college, moved to Hong Kong and then Taiwan.
Well, you studied Chinese economics, is that right? I saw that you were getting a doctorate.
I have a master's degree in comparative economics from the University of Michigan and a minor in Chinese. I was working on a doctorate and discovered that there were no jobs, and I ended up landing a position on Capitol Hill as a speechwriter for a U.S. congressman, and then eventually segued over to the Senate side. I did that for about 3 to 4 years as a speechwriter.
I think that's a great job. I mean, to me that sounds like very glamorous.
It was a very good experience. It was, it's funny, I must have been, let's see, I was about 23, 24 at the time when I first got there, and you realize that Capitol Hill, both in the House and Senate side, whether it's Republican or Democrat, it's filled with young, ambitious people like myself, and much older congressmen.
Yes.
So you tend to have a lot of adulation by staff, especially if you're not on a subcommittee staff. If you're on a congressman, senator, or House member on their personal staff, it's a very heady experience. It's a very heady experience.
I'm sure it is. I'm sure it is. When especially at that age, it's very exciting.
It was exciting. We used to didn't have a dime. If I had $10 in my wallet, I was fortunate. When I first got there in the afternoons.
I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, I didn't silence my phone, and I'm sorry, Myles. Let's see if I can know how to do it.
I like that, Clint Eastwood.
Yeah, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Now you all know how tough I am. I'm really tough.
No, when I first got to Capitol Hill, frequently after end of the session or something, in the afternoon we'd call up the Sergeant of Arms and ask where the political action committees were throwing their dinners.
Sure, of course, and you could eat around, to speak.
Exactly.
Yeah, I had a not too dissimilar experience in New York in my younger days, but you don't You didn't need a lot of money to have a lot of fun in those days. I don't know if kids have it I don't think kids have it so easy today. I think millennials have it really hard, particularly millennial lawyers. And
It's tough. It's tough. And I recognize that, you know, the law schools still still draw very ambitious people. And the problem is meeting that ambition in the public sector and in the private sector. When I went to law school, I went to the University of San Francisco. I clerked throughout law school from literally my second semester, first year. I was clerking for the city attorney's office. Then I took a job with the attorney general's office.
Wow.
I ended up working at the Alameda County District Attorney's office across the bay, while it was 3 days a week, and then 2 days a week I was clerking at the State Public
and
Defender's
you didn't
office.
find law school I mean, I didn't know anybody in law school that worked.
Frankly, I came out of a PhD program at the University of Michigan thinking that law school would be a grand intellectual experience.
Oh, well, it's not a grand intellectual experience in case anybody was confused, right?
No, it was a lot of drudgery,
Yeah.
rote memorization.
Right.
And frankly, if I had not found employment, and I really had to, I was married at the time. My wife, that's how I ended up in Hawaii, my wife at the time was from Hawaii. She was in graduate school, I was in graduate school. We ended up
Aloha,
landing
I'm
in
Chantal
San
Seville,
Francisco
the host.
after a stint overseas working in Beijing.
Have you found that
we
study
needed
useful?
to work and go to school at the same time.
Right, you didn't have a choice.
Aloha, I'm Chantal Seville.
Have you found your study of Chinese economics useful in any way with respect to your practice? It seems like it would be.
I do. I still use Chinese. I have a lot of clients from Taiwan and from the mainland.
Yeah.
Occasionally, clients from Hong Kong. My Cantonese was better than it is now. I speak primarily Mandarin. I still read some Chinese. I wish I had kept up with it. At one time, I had to, I was a trade negotiator in Beijing for a while with the U.S.-China Trade Council. So I had to be fluent in Chinese. I had to read documents, translate documents, and conduct negotiations.
Wow, you've had an illustrious career. And I have an illustrious career here. Well, you were in the Public Defender's Office, weren't you?
For a short, not here in Honolulu. When I was in law school, I did an internship with the State Public Defender's Office in San Francisco.
Were you always on this side of?
I did. It was really both sides. I mean, I loved government work. I didn't go to law school to go work at a private law firm. That wasn't my ambition. Corporate law was absolutely anathema to what I wanted to do. My interest was public law. So I took the opportunity of going to the University of San Francisco to work in just about every sector. I worked in county, I worked in the state, federal side. I worked in Marin County Courthouse, for example, for a judge. For a time, I worked with the State Supreme Court for a time. I took my 3 years seriously as an opportunity to see what was available in the public sector in the greater Bay Area.
This is great because I have a fair number of younger viewers, and they seem to think that it's all set, right? You know, you can set it, but you can't set it. There is no track. I always say to them, there's no track. There's no track to be on. Opportunities present themselves. You take those opportunities, and they lead to other opportunities. And I mean,
in fact, I ran into a bit of a quandary when I eventually got hired by the Alameda County District Attorney's Office during my third year of law school. And I was able to actually, during law school, to do jury trials. California allows it. If you're supervised by an attorney, you can go to trial. So,
wow, you're an overachiever.
No, that's what got me through law school. Is I discovered, I think it was my end of my second year of law school. That summer, I did like a half dozen or more DUI jury trials. You know, and that was riveting. That was like plugging my finger into an electric
How did the
socket.
clients respond? Were they?
Well, I was prosecuting.
Oh, okay.
But I got job offers
Okay.
from the State Public Defender's Office afterwards. But it was exciting. I felt that I was doing something good.
Right.
You know, and I loved being in a courtroom. It was the ultimate chess match. I grew up playing chess, so here I was doing basically the same thing in some respects.
So do you still enjoy trying cases? I mean, is it still fun for you?
No, I still enjoy it.
Yeah.
It's a challenge. I mean, that's what I enjoy about my practice now. For the last, 27 years, I've been practicing in Hawaii for approximately the last, since about 1989. I've been a solo practitioner.
That I find fascinating because that is
It's
To me,
tough.
that's the hardest,
It's tough.
hardest thing to be, but you have to really be a powerful force, I think, in order to make a go of it in that way.
And I stepped on a lot of toes in the process.
Yeah? What do you mean? I mean,
Well,
you don't have to tell me, but...
No, it's open book. I mean, anyone can look up the
Oh, I saw you.
State versus Fukusaku,
Right.
Breiner versus the Office of Disciplinary Counsel. There's lots of cases, that I've been involved in, some of my own. During a double homicide trial back in 1994, then into 1995, I aggravated a judge sufficiently that she found me in contempt.
Yeah, I read that, but
And
I
then
view
put
that
me in
as
jail.
impassioned lawyering. I don't view that
Yeah.
as, I think that's a badge of honor. I don't think that's
I'm honored by it. At the same time, my clients thought that I went to jail, for my client. I went to jail because I couldn't keep my mouth shut.
Right. That's a problem, yes. It's a kind of a problem in the community
I pushed
among some of us.
I pushed the judge too far, and I think when my final comments about the judge running a kangaroo court and that I wasn't a marsupial.
You really said that? Oh, well, no, yeah, I wouldn't, wow. That's
Among
crazy.
other things,
But you
among
must have
other
really
things.
lost your temper, like it become hot-headed and not rational.
Oh, no, I knew exactly what I was saying.
Really?
Because I thought it was a kangaroo court, and I thought that the judge was extremely biased, and I was playing the media card, and much to my surprise, came back to haunt me about 4 years after the trial. I went to jail in the middle of the trial, went back and finished the case. My client was charged as the sole shooter in a double homicide. At the end of the case, the prosecution conceded that he was an accomplice based on the examination of the witnesses that we did.
Good, so you prevailed then.
We prevailed. In some respects, we did prevail.
Well, so...
Unfortunately, got convicted as an accomplice, and we're still, here it is now, 27 years later, and we're still working on his appeal.
Really?
So,
Oh.
in fact, his case is now the case that the Hawaii Innocence Project is working on.
Oh, really? Oh, that's interesting.
State
Okay.
versus right to Fukusaku.
Okay. Well, I'll have to become more familiar with it. I'm not a criminal lawyer. I don't understand criminal law. They sent me on a few criminal cases once when I was working at a firm, and I was, have to admit, terrified because I had to go behind bars. It was just, I don't find it exciting. You find it exciting, right? I found it just frightening.
At this point in my life, it's commonplace.
Right.
When I came to the meeting, before I came to have this discussion with you this afternoon, I was over at the Halawa prison doing parole hearings.
Intellectually, I know. I understand it intellectually, but I have this emotional response when I walk into a courtroom and I have to represent somebody. It's my middle class upbringing. But I have no middle class upbringing, so I don't know.
But I think we both grew up watching Perry Mason.
Probably.
Or
The
Defenders.
Probably. I'm going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back and talk to Myles Breiner more about his life in the law.
Aloha, I'm Chantal Seville, the host of The Savvy Chick Show. You can watch the show every Wednesday at 11 a.m. Honolulu time and enjoy how to be inspired and empowered. If you're a woman or girl, everyone is welcome, but it's really dedicated to you. And we look forward to seeing you. You can also find us on thinktechhawaii.com. See you soon. Aloha.
Aloha! Hello, my name is Patrick Bratton. I'm host at Global Connections here at ThinkTech Hawaii. We broadcast live every Thursday at 1 p.m. We bring Hawaii to the world and the world to Hawaii, talking about international events and various things of interest to the audience. Please join me. I look forward to talking with you and having you get to meet some of my guests. Aloha.
You're watching ThinkTech Hawaii, which streams live on thinktechhawaii.com, uploads to youtube.com, and broadcasts on cable OC16 and Alelo 54. Great content for Hawaii from ThinkTech.
Hi, I'm Maryann Sasaki. You're watching Life in the Law. I want to give everybody an opportunity to call in if you want. I have to put my glasses on to see the number, of course. It's 415-871-2474. We're talking to Myles Breiner about life in the law. If you have any questions, he'll be happy to answer them.
Absolutely.
Yes. So.
No, I love what I do. And when I talk, when I go to the law school and I meet with students on ethical issues or on legal issues, questions always asked, why do you do this?
Right.
And I can't picture myself doing something different.
I can't either.
I enjoy it too much.
It sort of embraces you. The first few years are hard, I think, because you're sort of bouncing around in the dark a little bit. But after the first few years, I think it's totally fun.
I mean, there's something about helping someone. Whatever aspect of the law you practice, whether it's corporate or civil or probate or family, it makes no difference. You're still helping someone. And that feeling of successfully helping another person through a dilemma, through a problem, nothing compares to it.
Right. And you
It's
do the most
short-lived.
important work.
It's short-lived, though.
It's very short-lived.
This is a very
Until the
ephemeral.
aggravation sets in, yeah. Well, initially, you're like, I can really do something here, and then, oh,
Well,
well.
I've noticed the pattern is I'll have a fantastic day, I've accomplished what I set out to do, the client loves me, and I'll walk in the office, and there's a really bad message waiting.
Oh, that's terrible.
Terrible.
And you have no poor associate to fob it off on either, right? Or do you have an associate?
No, I've had associates over the years.
Yeah.
So my practice kind of, it expands, it coalesces. I've had, at one time, I think 4 associates, now I have just one.
Lucky associate.
Yeah, I think so. I
Yeah.
mean, I enjoy that person. And I have a staff of about 10 people, a number of paralegals. One of my paralegals, in fact, just got admitted to Harvard Law School. So
Mine's my alma mater.
I'm very proud of him.
Yeah, that's, well, you know, there's not that many people.
Local boy.
Went to the University of Hawaii?
No, he went to Punahou.
I was going to say, was he, okay.
Ben Shiroma.
He was undergraduate,
And he went to Punahou, then he went to, I think, USC.
Oh, okay.
And he's the only student from his graduating class from Punahou that got into Harvard Law.
Really?
Yeah, very bright guy.
It's not that hard. Trust me, they let me in. I always tell everybody, it's not as hard. You just put one foot ahead of the other, and then, all of a sudden you're like, oh, the hallowed walls of the hallowed halls and ivy of, yeah.
I did a summer at Harvard once.
Well, people find it amusing, but
It can be intimidating.
yeah,
The
I
reputation.
suppose.
The reputation. Before I got there, I felt somewhat intimidated by it. Once I got there, I thought, okay.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
So you think he's going to come back here to practice, or will he stay on the
It's hard to
mainland?
say. I mean, Hawaii is very narrow, and there's not a lot of opportunity. You get him with one firm or another. I would hope that he would at least experience practicing on the mainland
Right.
and get some years under his
You
his
should go to
belt.
New York and be miserable at a large firm. That's what I did.
No,
I
no,
don't advocate that for anyone.
No. I've been there, done that. I've heard that too many times.
It's really horrible. I mean, you think I'm so successful, I'm making all this money, I'm living in this glamorous city, and meanwhile your life is sheer drudgery.
When I was working in D.C. on the Hill, I had a friend who had gone to Harvard, and she ended up in D.C. working for a large firm. I think it was Howard and Simon or something, very large firm, 1,500 attorneys. And she was the principal attorney on the breakup of Ma Bell.
Oh, okay, but that's huge, right?
Litton Industries had put her up at the hotel in New York City, paid for a whole floor for the whole firm.
Right.
She prevailed ultimately in representing Litton, and she got a $500 bonus.
No, really?
And a case of wine.
Oh, no.
It was pretty funny.
No, that's,
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
no, that's not the way it's supposed to
Meanwhile,
work.
the partners made millions.
I'm sure they did. It's funny, it sounds so glamorous when you're in law school. When you hear about cases like that, you're going to go on a business trip, they're going to put you up in a hotel, and they really do spare no expense, but then you realize it's work, it's all work, it's work.
When you're a young associate, or when you're a law student, you work in that big firm, a little bit of with the bait and switch.
Oh, totally.
The glamorous summer intern experience.
Absolutely.
and then
They
when
wine you and dine you.
Right, then you come in as an associate.
Right.
And
So let's talk a little bit about something we have in common, which is medical marijuana. Would you like to talk about medical
Sure,
marijuana?
sure.
So
More
what
than
do you
happy.
foresee the future? What do you see
What's
happening?
interesting is change is happening afoot. Let's see. In November of this year, California has on its ballot, I believe, legalization across the board, recreational marijuana.
Right, which is ultimately going to happen here. I mean,
I grant that, but the reason I mention that is that from practicing law in New York, and I've practiced in California, that those two jurisdictions really set the standard for the entire country.
They
What
do.
happens in New York with legislature and with case law with the New York Supreme Court, as well as with the California Supreme Court and the California legislature,
Absolutely.
it changes the dynamic for the rest of the country.
That's right.
So in New York, we have medical marijuana. Okay. Now Hawaii has medical marijuana. Although we were one of the first to have it, we were only now developing
Right.
dispensaries. But with California, which has, the state gross product is greater than most countries.
Right.
Okay. And because of the impact that California has across the country politically, socially, and economically, once it passes in November and recreational marijuana becomes a standard in California, it will affect the entire country, including Hawaii. I suspect, unfortunately, Hawaii will probably be one of the last ones to legalize marijuana.
I kind of think so because, some of the people that I've talked at the Department of Health and so on, they seem to think that it'll have a detrimental effect on the population. I was just reading an article in Civil Beat or either the Advertiser about the meth problem, and not that there's any. I mean, obviously, I don't think that there's any.
So the advocates of medical marijuana don't even want to mention the other
parallel
drug
there.
issues.
Right, but they do. The Department of
Correct.
Health does,
Correct.
and they seem to think that it will increase drug abuse among children. I disagree. I completely disagree.
There's no study that I've seen that makes
No.
any correlation between marijuana use as a gateway drug to other drugs. But that's
Right.
been the big bugaboo for a lot of conservatives.
Right.
Hence the problem getting legislature to agree to medical marijuana in Hawaii. There had to be an absolute commitment that we treat it, and we don't even say the word recreational marijuana. We talk about medicine. We talk
Right.
about medical marijuana.
Right.
We talk about cannabinoid versus THC.
Right.
About various strains can be used for this type of medical treatment.
Right,
We
right.
talk about patients, not people who are using it recreationally.
Right. Although I think people should be able to use it recreationally. I mean,
I don't disagree with you. I think that's general consensus. Unfortunately, there's enough of a conservative element in legislature as well as in the political community here that it's going to be difficult to get that kind of support for recreational marijuana.
when will the Fed come along?
Once I think the Fed realizes that California, Colorado, and the other states that have legalized marijuana for recreational use are balancing their budgets,
Right.
then they'll appreciate that it's something they can tax.
Right.
I mean, if you dangle a taxable
no
entity
kidding.
in front of a politician, you're going to get their vote.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And it's a no-brainer. So
But it'd be
this-
great. That's why it'd be great for Hawaii too. I mean, the revenue stream would be tremendous. I mean, and
I would have thought under the Obama administration there would have been a greater push. Unfortunately, the Obama administration has been forced to play almost passively with a Republican-dominated legislature.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you then
They
yeah,
can't even get
They're
there.
he's thwarted at every turn.
He can't even get his judges, confirmed. So,
Right. Which we
hence-
should talk about, actually. I mean, how are we going without a Supreme Court justice? I mean,
It's sad. Yeah, there was an article the other day. Justice Ginsburg made an interesting remark that we're destined to these 4-4 decisions, and we're going to end up just losing cases that should be resolved,
Right.
by a majority,
Right.
of justices.
But the fact that the Supreme Court is so politicized, I mean, we grew up, you go to law school and they tell you that is the institution that is above the political fray. And that's why justices are appointed for life and they're able to make decisions that are outside the rough and tumble of politics. And it was not. It was sort of, before Ronald Reagan. I'm thinking.
There you and I disagree. It's always been political.
You think so, really?
Sure. FDR's appointments,
Well,
which
that's
I
true.
applaud those appointments.
Right,
At
right.
the same time, you think about the.
But they're overt. I think they're more overt now. They're less clever about covering it. I don't know. Maybe I'm mistaken.
They appointed Earl Warren, who also had a hand in incarcerating Japanese Americans.
Right.
Yeah, we talk about the Warren Court as a symbol of civil rights advocacy.
Right. So,
But we have a interesting group of justices. The vast majority are Harvard trained.
yes, they'd love
The
to.
vast majority from the East Coast,
Feed
primarily
them.
from the New York
Right.
Bar Association.
I'd like to see somebody from Stanford go onto the Supreme Court. I'd like to see a West Coast mind. I mean, I think that Kirkpatrick, I think she was a good addition to the court. I mean, she definitely had a different point of view than the Eastern elite. And I'm an Eastern elite, so I when I'm dismissive of Eastern elites, I'm dismissive of me and like everyone I know. So I mean, to have a Western opinion is more reflective of the country, I think, you know, so.
So the big question then is, who's going to be the next president?
That's what I was going to ask you.
And,
People don't want to talk about it, right? So,
I'm frankly shocked that Donald Trump is where he's at today, but that's
you know, I have to say,
terribly disappointing.
I knew that, but, you know, I knew that people would vote for him because really, there's no underestimating the power of
a demagogue.
celebrity. Yeah, I mean, celebrity is just so powerful in our society that people don't make the distinction between what this person stands for, what they're saying. Like, I mean, the Kardashians, like, this perfect example. People aren't parsing like what is the message here. They just know famous.
Any message.
Yeah,
so
any message.
So long as your face is plastered
That's right.
on the television.
And that's why I'm so adamant about the rise of global fascism, because I remember, I mean, I'm old enough to remember people that lived through World War II. It was something that was constantly discussed as I was a child in school, and we thought it could never happen again. It's almost like watching Trump. I would watch Hitler and I'd say, how could so many people be mesmerized by a guy like this? Now I'm witnessing so many people being mesmerized by a guy like this.
Alienation.
Yeah, disaffection, absolutely. I mean, people think he's the leader, but he's not. He's reflective of a large swath of the population.
I keep hoping he's going to wake up and say it's a big joke.
I know, or something's going to happen. The Republicans are going to be able to mount a candidate that's not David French.
Well, I'm thinking of Peter Sellers in the movie Being There.
Right.
Chauncey Gardner.
Right. But you know, there's a chance he could win. You realize that, right? I mean,
it's getting closer and closer.
Yeah.
The polls reflect there's about a 4 or 5 point difference between Hillary Clinton and Trump, which is
And
depressing.
I myself, I have to tell you, have trepidation about Hillary Clinton. And I was a Clinton supporter the first time around, and you know, obviously I'm a feminist, so you know, I have an interest in having a woman in the White House.
But at her worst, she's still far and away better.
Oh, absolutely.
Than Donald Trump.
Absolutely. And there's no doubt about it.
She's still rational.
But will people think it? I mean, she's terrifically bright and prepared and experienced. She's a little bit of an imperialist for my taste. That's my only problem with Hillary Clinton is world domination. But aside from that, you know, I support. We're pretty much on the same page domestically. So
Unfortunately, the options that were given and the fact that people think that Trump is every man is ludicrous.
I know.
Born with a golden spoon. You know, how many bankruptcies? 4 different bankruptcies.
I know.
3 different marriages.
Because he talks like a guy who's from New York, and apparently people seem to like that. So I think I'll keep my accent then.
Keep it.
You think I should?
You run for
You
office.
think I should? Yeah, maybe I'll seem like every woman. So you've been watching Life in the Law. Thank you so much,
My
Myles, for
pleasure.
coming on. I really appreciate it.
I'll come back.
I'd love to have you back, especially if there's something, you know, constitutional happening in state government or something that, you know, that I'm not going to understand. You can come and explain it to me.
Be happy to.
Okay, all right. So you're watching Life in the Law. Maryann Sasaki here. Join us on Wednesdays from 1 to 2. Thanks for joining us.